Now, every day when you go out on the open road, it's roulette with the weatherman if it's going to be sunny or rainy or both. And I've had it both ways where they predict rain and there's none, and there's just the opposite. It doesn't matter. It's roulette no matter what you do. But today was supposed to be exceptionally hot, so I thought I'd leave some tips on the video for riding in hot weather that have seemed to have worked for me. And also, you can watch this in 4K. We spent a lot of time and money to make these available in 4K. Just adjust your device. Now, our super accurate weatherman says we got big rain headed our way later this afternoon. And it's been really hot, and we have been getting these thunder showers in the afternoon. So it is a good way to protect yourself from that kind of a weather report. Get out on the road early, and we are. Now, my day always starts with pre-flighting the bike, moving bikes around if I have to, and a final check of the weather. And assuming that they're pretty accurate, this is not supposed to be really nasty until later today. But a lot of people would look at that and say, yeah, I'm not going to take a chance go riding today. But the way this played out, the whole morning was fine. And I always think, well, I'm getting the bike ready. I'm looking around, making sure I got air in the tires, oil, the chain is tight, and no loose parts, and a little walk around. I call it pre-flighting. It's what you would do if you were involved in aviation, especially if you owned your own plane, like I was lucky to do for 4 or 5 years. And feeding the fish, most important thing. I like to get all my chores done, but no matter what, even though this takes an extra half an hour, I don't like to compromise it. I don't like to come back all sweaty and hot and have to do things in the garden, or do all of the peripheral things that you have when you have a small farm like this. Now, we're already harvesting things every day. The cucumbers are every day. We get a bucket of cucumbers. We're getting tomatoes every day. This is one of Karen's passions. She loves every minute of this, and to be honest, I like it too. And I love having the pico de mayo or whatever she makes what's good with the sauce. Anyway, it's time. And we're running out of time. Time is of the essence out on the open road. So I've been a prisoner of the weather my whole life. Everything I've ever enjoyed, except model railroading, has been prone and subject to the weather. Motorcycling, when it's really hot, above 90, the trick is, number one trick, get out early in the morning before it gets into the high 90s. I've always found that a good way to deal with it. Now, it's always a thing, and I don't understand why some people don't invest in some really good mesh riding gear, summer riding gear. They ride with a jacket that's going to be hotter than it has to be. Or, the worst of all worlds, you ride in a t-shirt and somewhere down the road you're sorry you did that. Anyway, out in the country here, about 30 miles from my house, it gets a lot cooler. It's usually 4 or 5 degrees cooler here. The similar to going up by Bear Mountain. Of course, we are in a hilly part of the country. The other thing, I try to seek out roads that are shady, or more than half shady anyway. And I've noticed just being in the shade, it makes a couple hours further into the day that it's enjoyable, and a couple hours even after that it's bearable. As opposed to you go out at lunchtime when you're in the heat of the day and then go take a ride on the highway that has not one bit of shade. It's a world of difference, and you don't get as much riding in. And hot as it is today, there's still wet spots on the road with where you get into shady areas. Sometimes the roads don't dry up, and it can get interesting. But the Michelin 5s that are on this bike have proven to be good. Even when I've gotten caught in the rain and had to put both cameras in a plastic bag to keep them from getting wet. The cameras aren't waterproof. Luckily, I am. And when it's hot like this, it's almost good to get wet. Now, Joe Padula shared some information I had not known. His touring BMW, when he rides in the summer, you could catch fire behind the windshield because not a lot of air gets to you with a big high windshield. Now, this bike, that little fly screen really doesn't do anything. I think it's 100% cosmetic, but you get a nice blast of air, especially when you go into the shade. Now, riding these back roads under the trees where it's a shady, sunny, you tend to lose sometime a little vision. And this is what can happen to you if you're not really paying attention. You come around and you go into the shade and all of a sudden some landscaper. And it may sound funny, but it is something that can ruin your whole day. That's for sure. And I try to be always aware of the landscapers, especially in the summer. And when it's hot, it seems like they park their trucks indiscriminately. And they put up a little yellow cone or something that's, well, in bright sunlight, it's a lot more visible than in these shaded areas or the back roads where you really don't expect to have a one of those big things that they put the tractors in or whatever they have in there. But makes it a little interesting, it makes you pay attention every minute of the ride, to be honest. Now, whenever I go out and it's this hot, I always take a bottle of water, just shove it in your jacket, leave it in the, if you're really cool, you can leave it in the fridge so it's really nice and cold. And at the end of the ride, pour it down your back or on your head. And I like to ride as many days as possible, hopefully almost every day. Hot weather, cold weather, it doesn't matter. I try to make the most of the opportunities I have to ride and use it for good exercise. Now, several of my friends do. They buy a motorcycle, and for them, it's appropriate to ride maybe just on a weekend because they have to work, or maybe for some other reason that they don't enjoy it that much. But for me, this is a passion, and I just want to get out on the open road. When I wake up in the morning and I take care of my farm chores and check the weather and I find out it's going to be hot, I just figure, well, I'm going to have to deal with it. And I do. And there's something about the MT09 that I don't know what it is. It's like, I call it an all-weather fighter. I've ridden it all through the winter twice already. And in the summer like this, when it gets hotter and hotter, I try to deal with it as best I can. Because I just have that feeling like every day that you can ride, it's a special day. It's a special blessing to be able to ride, to be in good enough health, and of course, to have a nice motorcycle and ride safe. And by the time you get to watch this video, I will be almost a few days away from being 78 years old. And I always think riding motorcycles as often as I do helps me stay young. And I feel extremely lucky and blessed to live in a part of the country where you really can ride probably legitimately 10, 11 months of the year, depending if you have winter riding gear, and I do, and summer riding gear, and I do. And all the appropriate safety stuff. I just think that is a big key part to good health and longevity, as well as raising your own vegetables. And in my case, maybe yours too, my wife always tries to keep me alive. It's in her best interest to keep me alive. Of course, this bike was my 75th birthday present from Karen, and I have done the mods to it that made it what I think a little personalized, make it my own, including painting the wheels and polishing the exhaust. And it just, when I get out on the open road with this bike, usually when I'm buying gas, I'll see somebody else with a motorcycle or wave to them going in the other direction. I just think how this bike uniquely fit into my life. And it seems like an awful lot of people that correspond with me by email and such, it fits their lifestyle too. for sure, I never trust the weatherman, and sometimes I beat the system. Looks like today we didn't get rained on at all, but I can see it's already getting cloudy. And sometimes you don't beat it, and like Jose, you spend 2 hours under a bridge. So either way, the weatherman, and by the way, if you have, again, I've mentioned this before on videos before, if you have a choice between a weather app and an aviation weather app, the aviation weather app is usually a little more accurate. Boy, it has the look of I just got home in time. Oh my God. That is really some serious lightning coming down. Thunder and lightning. Holy mackerel. Good to be back home early. So the Russian roulette, you can see I won't have to water the garden tonight. I get a free car wash, but I got home about an hour just in time, and that sky just changed in a matter of 15 minutes, a half an hour, and it went from a beautiful sunny day riding around, enjoying every minute out there, and if I had stayed out another hour, I would have a while to clean the bike. And we try to ride all winter. We try to ride all summer. We try to pass on tips, little things that would help you enjoy the passion for motorcycling. None of it is super high tech. Most of it is just a whole lot of fun, and nothing is better than getting up in the morning and knowing you can get out on the open road on a bike of your choice. And thanks so much for watching.